the Fempreneur podcast or YouTube channel, depending on where you are watching this. So we want to have a conversation today around pricing your offers as a personal brand. Maybe you are a coach, maybe you're a healer, you're a therapist, consultant, some sort of service-based business. We want to look at just the differences between pricing your offers as someone that ends up delivering the services versus a traditional method like a traditional company or an old paradigm company would. And this is honestly one of the biggest questions that my clients are asking me, and is one of the things that for them hundreds of clients that I've coached in their business success is something that always comes up. The question is like, Libby, what should I price my offers at? So I'm going to do an episode for you to break this down to help you in this. So the first thing that we want to remember is I'm going to walk you through just the 4 key things that are going to help you with this. But the first thing that I want you to remember before we dive into that is your business is created to make a transformation in the world. You're not a business that's just about making money. Yes, we want the balance of making money. I always teach my clients that we've got the alignment of, when we've got the alignment of purpose, we've got the alignment of wealth, and we've got the alignment of impact. That's when we start to see true wealth, true abundance moving through the business. And when you are aware of this, that your business is not just about the wealth, right? It's about the impact and it's about the purpose as well. You really start to see that you're leading a completely different way. The changes that you're creating through your work are going to be felt for generations to come. Like, I just think that is so cool. You're amazing for what you do. And let's dive into this. Okay, so the first thing that we want to know when it comes to pricing your offers is there is no competition. And so you can't look to the competition to see what they charge, right? Often out there, a lot of business coaches will say, well, go do your market research, see what other people are charging. But what I have noticed in my own journey, as well as in other people's journeys, is that that actually ends up taking away from what your soul is really here to charge. And when you look to others, the mind wants to end up, getting into comparison or getting into judgment. And so rather than listening to what you're being guided to price your offers at, you're starting to look at it through the lens of, well, if this is what Sally's charging, she's doing the same thing as me, then I should be charging about the same, or I should be charging less because she's been doing it for longer, or whatever story your mind comes up with. That happens when we start to look at what others are doing. Right now, unless you want to compete, right now, I know that you're not wanting to compete, but there is no competition, right? There is no competition. It's you versus you. You're in your own league, right? No one can replicate you. You're a personal brand, you're a coach, and people want to work with you because it's you, right? And, again, like in terms of competition, things will demand competition. But if you're like, I think of a client that comes to mind right now. She is incredible and she's working with about 3 different coaches, and we all do very, very similar things. In fact, a lot of her other coaches are also my clients, and she's learning like different things from each person, but she wants to work with each person because everyone brings such a different element to her business. And so when you go into your business with that in mind, is that there is no competition, right? Your clients, your soulmate clients are going to want to work with you. And so let's stop looking outside. Let's stop looking to what others are doing, and let's just focus on what you're bringing to life and what you're creating. Now, the second thing that we want to know when it comes to pricing is that there are 2 things that we want to consider when it comes to pricing, right? The first is intuitive and the second is strategic. It's two ways to price your offers. Strategic, intuitive. So from an intuitive perspective, I want you to remember, maybe this is the first time you've been hearing this, and hear me out as I talk about this, right? Your business has a soul. Your business has a consciousness, it has an energy, it has a life force, and you are, I like to say that you are playing Cupid between your soulmate clients and your offers, right? And your business is helping people, your clients, humanity, lives, families, businesses evolve in some way, shape, or form. They're moving through some sort of spiritual ascension. You're helping them move from fear into love in some way, shape, or form. If you do health coaching, for example, they're in some sort of fear in their life, right? It might not necessarily be a fear, but there's, I like to call it like the fear to love spectrum, where you've got fear down the bottom and then love at the top. It's not black and white, but it's somewhere on that spectrum, like a moving scale. You've got someone that might be experiencing either dis-ease or some illness, or just an absence of ultimate health. And either way, you're helping them step into that. Now, yes, while you're helping them, it's also through the context of your business, right? Your business has been designed to elevate the consciousness of humanity. That's why it has chosen you. You're equipped with everything that you need to bring it to life. You've got the skills, the expertise, the story, right? You've probably walked through your own transformation, which is why you're now doing, and you're simply now the conduit to bring that, to bring the ideas, to bring the mission of the business to life. Now, there is, especially in a personal brand, there is so many similarities between your own soul mission and your business soul mission. But once we start to separate these, I find this is really helpful. Just a side note here, I found this is really helpful if you have problems, or if you struggle a little bit with setting boundaries with your clients, or maybe your friends are asking for coaching and you find that you're doing a lot of coaching for free, or you're finding that there's a lot of blurred lines between what is your work and what is not your work, is to create this and to see it through. When I see things through the energetic field of this, when I'm looking at someone's business from the energy field, you can literally see there is a difference between the soul, like you as the human, as the entrepreneur, and the consciousness of the business. They're two different entities. And when we can make that separation and realize that you are not your business, you're the one that brings it to life. You might embody your brand, you embody your medicine, but you've got the construct of the business as a healthy boundary, a healthy parameter to then deliver your services. And then whenever I see this in the energy field, you've got the business itself, and then each offering has its own consciousness as well. Each offering's got its own purpose. Every offer is going to help someone achieve their goals, or achieve something in their life, or overcome some obstacle, or solve some problems, depending on the context of your work. And so these each hold an energy as well, right? And so your job as a soul-led coach, as a soul-led consultant, as a healer, as a therapist, as someone that is truly wanting to make the world a better place and make people's lives better through your work, is to see the energy of the soul, of the offer, see the soul of the offer. And so what I like to do is, there's a couple of things that you can do, but I'll give you a very quick tool that you can use right now, a very quick technique that you can use, is imagine that you're sitting in meditation with the offering that you're bringing to life, that you're wondering how to price, and you are taking a breath. Just imagine that you're sitting in meditation, connecting with the soul of the offering. You might see it as a crystal ball, you might see it as a diamond, it might be a color, it might be a particular shape for you, or you might just get a sense of what it feels like. You're in that moment really connecting with the energy of what that's bringing. And then what I like to do is I like to request to be shown the impact that this offer is going to have on the people's lives that are going to be doing this offer. I like to see, and I like to request to be shown the impact in the collective and the impact on humanity through the web of life that this offer is going to have. And then I sit in meditation. So you can do this, you can sit in meditation and then connect with the energy of that transformation, right? The energy of what that impact is here to have. And then I like to, as I'm doing this, request to be shown the price. Right, I know that sounds really simple, or maybe it sounds really out there. Either way, trust me, it works. Right, now what you might see, and I see this a lot, is you might see different pricing. So sometimes you'll do this and you might get like, let's say you get $1,000, and then you might do this again to clarify it and you might get 2,000, and then you might do this again and you might get 300, and you're like, what is going on? What I like to do is I'll often ask, okay, what are these different prices? Are they the price of different tiers? Is that the payment plan option? Maybe it's like 3 payments of 300 if that was one of the options that you got. Or is it just showing me different perspectives? And I'll say, what is the aligned pricing right now for this offer? Is that an early bird offer? Is that a first launch or a beta round, and then I'm going to launch it again and maybe the price is going to go up, right? I remember doing this exercise a couple of years, nearly four years ago, and I remember seeing the price for my one-on-one coaching, and I remember in that moment thinking, I would never charge that for one-on-one coaching. Like, that is so much. And now, not only do I have people paying that, but my top level of one-on-one coaching is more than double what I was originally showing. And so it might not necessarily be that you change your pricing overnight, but what you're seeing, and for me, it took a couple of years to bring that pricing to life, right? So you might be showing a number that isn't necessarily do this now. It might be showing you where you're going and what it is requesting to be priced at. It might be lower, actually. Sometimes I see a lot of people, the soul of the offer, when we do this, they're actually being shown to lower the price of it, not necessarily just follow the strategy, which is very common in the coaching industry, of just raise your prices, which isn't actually always the most effective strategy. And what happens is when people then tune into the soul consciousness and receive and really connect with the like intuitively, the heart and the soul and the truth and the alignment of the pricing, and then they end up lowering their prices, if that's the aligned thing to do, their income blows up. And I've seen this so many times with clients. I've implemented this strategy in my own business as well, where the strategy that we have, the strategy that they've been following from a strategic perspective and a mind perspective up until they hire me and they come into my world, is like, just raise your prices and they charge more. But what ends up happening is they're not energetically aligned with the price, or the offering that they're wanting to bring to life isn't actually it might be that price for other people, but for them, that's not the right price. And so instead of them making more money, which you would think, okay, if you're selling 5 offers for $1,000 each, that would be $5,000. If you then raise that price to $2,000, then theoretically 5 people buying that would be $10,000, right? But what happens is they're not necessarily backing, or they're not able to fully hold the doubled price or the 2x price. And so instead of 5 people still buying, they might have 1 person buy. And so then you've got to ask the question, well, what's more aligned? Like, is it the 5 people paying $1,000 each, which is $5,000, or is it the 1 person who's now paying $2,000? Cool, that 1 person paid $2,000, but now that's only $2,000 total. And so oftentimes, and it's not necessarily where you're trading your time for money. This is what we want to find, the aligned product suite as well, and the aligned business model, so that you can earn more and work less. And I currently do about 2.5 days, maybe less, of calls per week, and the rest of my time is creative time. And we're doing about, at the moment, we've averaged this year, I think our average for 2024 has been like 33K as an average, but between like 30 and 40K. I think we've had 2 months this year less than 30. One was like $400 shy of 30K, and the other one was still like more than 20K. And what I learned from that is, the more that I prioritize alignment and really listening to what the offers are asking in terms of pricing, in terms of how they want to be launched, and in terms of how I want to be living my life as well, the more money we make, and do it in sustainable ways as well. I truly believe that, I couldn't think of nothing worse than making a whole bunch of money, but then having to work yourself into the ground and getting burned out, and like, no thanks. So I love the way that we're scaling. I love the way that we're growing. And I love the way that when I see clients do this, we had a client do this. One of the strategies that we implemented with her was, she was thinking of adding a low ticket offer at the end of one of her programs. And what we did is we shifted around that strategy so that instead of people having to pay, I think the minimum to enter her world was like maybe $2,000 or like $5,000. And then if they were in her world, then they could join almost like an exclusive membership. We changed that around so that the low ticket thing came at the start of the customer's experience and her business. so that someone could join her world for like $100 or $200, and then if they wanted, they could continue. And by adding that low ticket thing at the start of the customer experience where they could access it, meant that it was a lower price point to enter her world, but she ended up making more money because that low ticket offer started converting to the higher ticket, and she would have lost those, or not necessarily had the opportunity to convert those sales that came from the low ticket offering into the high ticket offering. So little strategic things like this we do want to do, but we also want to look at, first of all, the alignment. This is really, really important, right? So that was number 2, is intuitive versus strategic. Which one are you using? The most effective is a blend of both, right? So just to set that tone there, right? It's both. So we want intuitive first, we want to get into alignment, and then we want to bring some of the strategy into it to increase your income. Number 3 is we also want to think big picture, right? Just like I said before, I could think of nothing worse than earning great money but working 60 hours a week. Like, my intentions of, number 1, always been to help people. I quit corporate and I walked away from a really good job because I wanted to help more people, and I also wanted to wake up with that alarm. And the way that I started scaling my business, when my first goal was 100K a year, we did that back in the 2019 to 2020 year, and I started anchoring the frequency of multiple 6 figures then, but I've always known that we'll be doing 7 figures a year. But I decided that I would always do it in alignment. And so while I have watched so many of my peers create like insane success, like it's amazing, it's so cool, and just skyrocket past me, I'm so proud of how I've done things because I've seen them act out of integrity. I've seen them, and I've made mistakes as well, but I've seen them end up often getting to a point of burnout or not being able to sustain it. Or I see the business models that some of them are still, they're sustaining it, but I'm like, I do not want that. Like I am creating what I'm creating, and it is going to feel so good the whole time. And so when I create the results that I know are on their way, it's inevitable, right? When you show up in your alignment, your results are inevitable. You're going to be so proud and so happy with how you have done it. And so this is what we want to think. We want to think big picture, right? Are you pricing yourself in a way where you're looking at your long-term goals, right? Now, for some of you, it might be that we need to like 10x your prices, right? Because I see so many healers and so many amazing coaches completely undercharging. They've got you're trading your time for money. And then what ends up happening is you end up depleted, burned out, and you're still not making the money that you want to be making. And you feel like you're giving to everyone else. You feel like you've got no energy left for yourself, no energy left to scale. And so in that case, most of the time, we definitely want to go through probably like, yes, we look at the pricing of the offers, but there might also be some deeper money work as well, which we won't go into in this video. But that's why we go into it so deeply in my world. But if you want help with that, please message me, please reach out. And when we work with both the consciousness of the business and your soul alignment, magic, right? This is what we want to look at though. And so then we also want to look big picture in your brand, right? How is your pricing reflecting where you're going? If you're undercharging, and I'm talking like undercharging, right? It's smart to have a business model that allows you to have low access points and low entry points with low ticket offers. If you're just starting out and you're doing under 10K a month though, I would recommend focusing on high ticket first. Get yourself to 10K months and then look at introducing low ticket. You're better to do more stuff for free than charging low ticket to start with. Once you've nailed the 10K months, then you've got probably more space and time to then be able to focusing on small ticket stuff. And the reason for that is unless you've got a massive audience, it's going to take more energy to be selling low ticket stuff. And that energy would be best put into selling high ticket stuff, okay? So long term, if you're undercharging, how is that impacting your brand and your reputation? It's a lot harder to go into the market low and then try and change your clientele and try and change your reputation if you've been someone that has been known to be cheap, right? And the opposite, it's easier to go in high and go low, but are we looking at the big picture of what you're creating, right? Are you a boutique? Are you a Macy's? Are you a Chanel? Like, what's the kind of caliber of your work? What's the value? What's the feeling? What's the customer experience that you want to create? And does your pricing reflect that? Right? And again, there's no right or wrong number, because there's a whole combination of things, but your energy, your embodiment has to match the price that you're putting out. And money changes hands when value exceeds price. And so if you're placing value on something, but you're selling to people who don't value that thing, or you haven't learned how to communicate it effectively, it's a huge piece as well. Chances are you might be trying to communicate it in your language, and your soulmate client is scrolling right past your content because they don't understand what you're saying. You're using all this jargon, and they're like, I don't know what any of that means. And so they're not coming into your worlds. They don't see the value in what you're providing because they don't think it's for them. And so we want to learn how to communicate properly so that they can see the value. If they're not seeing the value, chances are it's the wrong clientele. It's like you're trying to sell Chanel kind of products to people with a Macy's budget, or vice versa, right? It's like there's got to be a congruence, there's got to be harmony there. So we want to look at that, right? And then lastly, trust yourself. This honestly is so underrated. One of the things that I wished more soul-led coaches and healers and entrepreneurs had in common, or had stronger, is an ability to trust yourself. Remember, you're a visionary. You are creating something that doesn't even exist yet. Like, you're creating so much change in the world through your work, through your business, through your services, that the world in several generations is not even going to look the same. The healing that is happening, the change that's being created, the transformations that are being experienced are impacting generations to come, right? And with that requires a level of discernment, and it also requires a level of courage. But it's one of the biggest assets that we have as entrepreneurs and as coaches, right? Is to trust the ideas that you're getting. It doesn't mean everything's going to work, right? Oftentimes the things that don't work, you're just needing to learn the lesson. So extract a lesson, move on, right? Don't beat yourself up for mistakes that you make, but also don't wait for everyone else to tell you what's right? If you've got a coach, for example, notice yourself. Are you waiting for their reply before you act? Or are you trusting yourself so much that you're just asking an opinion and depending on the weight of it? You don't need their reply because you're already freaking flying. You're just dropping in, you're reporting. You're like, hey, this is working. What would you do differently? Or here's what I'm thinking. These are the 3 options. Like, have you been through this? Is there anything that you can offer? Like, what would you do? What would you do in this situation? But you're not waiting and you're not relying on anyone else's opinions to make the decisions that you want to do. I remember when I was starting my business, and my coach at the time, I'd hired a coach, put all of my life savings into a coach, and I knew that I could make it back. I always have just thought like that. And I remember she said something to me, and I hadn't even started the business yet, but I kind of remember what she said. We were talking about like introducing what I'm about to step into or something. And I just said, okay, I can't remember, but I said, okay, let me think about it. Anyway, I sent her a message. It was like 3 a.m. I'd been awake working on some projects. And I remember just having this idea of like something that had come up from our conversation of, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to do a live stream. But rather than sit there and message her and go, what do you think? I'm going to do this live stream. I just went on Facebook. I made a post. I told everyone I was going to be doing a live stream in a couple of days' time. And then she messaged me. She was like, hey, like, that's so cool. I love that kind of initiative. I'm like, well, yeah, watch me. Like, that's just how I lead, right? And so where can you strengthen your initiative? Where can you strengthen your capacity to trust the ideas that you're receiving, right? Whenever I look at someone that, when a client comes into my world and I look at them, if I think of the examples of, one of my clients who went from like a couple of $100 a month to last year doing $300K in a year, she deeply trusted herself. Like the work that we did was amazing and it helped her to see and make some incredible shifts, but she trusted herself. When I think about clients having their first 10K months or their first 30K months, it's not because they were sitting there waiting to be told what to do. It's that they take all of the ideas from what we're talking about and they make it their own. It's like they learn the rules, but they also follow their intuition and they let their intuition guide them. And so if you haven't already got a practice where you're dropping into your soul and your alignment and your intuition and strengthening that relationship, this is your sign to do that, because it's super powerful, right? It's your superpower as an entrepreneur. And when we look at the business model that goes alongside that, and the business model that you are going to be using to help you get to your income goals, pricing is obviously such a huge part of that. So we want to nail that. Doesn't mean you're going to get it perfect the right time around. That's totally okay. Remember, you're the boss. You get to change your pricing at any time, and you get to create both from a strategic perspective and intuitive perspective, a new way of doing things, your own way of doing things. Hopefully this is helpful. Send me a message on Instagram if you would love to go deeper, if you've got any questions, if I'm able to help you crush it anymore. I would love to help you achieve your goals. It is just honestly the greatest privilege that I have is the back seat, or rather the front seat views, front seat tickets to the massive evolution that happens in soul aligned brands with coaches and with healers. And yeah, you're rocking it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.